Get ready to make history. In this video, we will explore the incredible journey of Kamala Harris, first Black woman and Asian American to become Vice President of the United States, and her exciting campaign for a second term in 2024. With the general election just 3 months away, Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is now fully operational. 59-year-old secured the majority of delegates during a virtual roll call on August 5th, officially making her the Democratic nominee for president in 2024. She will be facing off against the Republican candidate Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance. According to the Democratic National Convention, Harris garnered support from 99% of participating delegates, and the DNC Secretary, Jason Ray, formally certified these results. Harris has made history as the first Black and Asian American woman to lead a ticket for a major political party. The Democratic National Convention is scheduled to take place from August 19th to 26th in Chicago. With her nomination confirmed, Harris addressed one of the pressing questions surrounding her campaign: the identity of her running mate. On August 6th, her campaign unveiled that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz would join her on the Democratic ticket. It is the honor of a lifetime to partner with @Kamala Harris, Walz, 60, expressed in a post on the social media platform X. Having emerged as the presumptive nominee after President Joe Biden's decision to withdraw from the race for re-election, Harris has garnered endorsements from a notable array of celebrities and political figures. These include former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, former First Lady Michelle Obama, and artists such as Ariana Grande, Barbra Streisand, and Olivia Rodrigo. Who is Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris has served as the Vice President of the United States since January 2021 and is the Democratic presidential candidate 2024. Trained attorney, Harris rose through the ranks of California's legal system, eventually becoming the state's Attorney General in 2010. She made history as the second African American woman and the first South Asian American to secure a seat in the U.S. Senate, where she served for 4 years. Starting in January 2017, Harris resigned shortly before assuming the vice presidency under President Joe Biden. She stands out as the first woman, the first Black individual, and the first Asian American to hold this position. Following Biden's decision to step away from his re-election campaign at the end of July 2024, Harris emerged as the clear frontrunner and secured the Democratic nomination about 2 weeks later. Early life, parents, and ethnicity. Kamala Devi Harris was born in Oakland, California on October 20, 1964. She grew up in Berkeley, then a predominantly African-American neighborhood. As a child, she participated in civil rights demonstrations and sang in a Baptist choir. Harris's mother, Shyamala, emigrated from India to study at the University of California, Berkeley, where she met Harris's Jamaican father, Donald. Shyamala built a distinguished career as a breast cancer researcher, while Donald became a professor of economics at Stanford University. Shyamala ensured that Harris and her younger sister, Maya, remained connected to their Indian heritage, raising them with Hindu beliefs and taking them back to India every 2 years. Harris's parents divorced when she was 7 years old, and by the age of 12, she had moved with her mother and sister to Montreal. During her time in the Canadian city, she learned to speak a bit of French and showcased her budding political instincts by organizing a protest against a landlord who would not allow neighborhood children to play on the lawn. Harris attended Westmount High School in the suburbs of Montreal, where she co-founded a dance troupe with a friend. Returning to the United States, she enrolled at Howard University in Washington, D.C., where she was elected to the Liberal Arts Student Council and joined the debate team, ultimately earning a bachelor's degree in political science and economics. She then went on to attend the University of California, Hastings College of the Law, where she obtained her Juris Doctor in 1989. Legal career. After being admitted to the California bar in 1990, Harris began her career as a deputy district attorney in Alameda County. She became the managing attorney of the Career Criminal Unit in the San Francisco District Attorney's Office in 1998. 2 years later, she was appointed chief of the Community and Neighborhood Division, during which she established the state's first Bureau of Children's Justice. San Francisco District Attorney. In 2003, Harris defeated incumbent Terrence Hallinan, her former boss, to become the District Attorney of San Francisco. During her tenure, she launched the Back on Track initiative, which aimed to reduce recidivism by providing job training and other educational programs for low-level offenders. However, Harris also faced criticism for adhering to a campaign promise and refusing to seek the death penalty for a gang member convicted of the murder of police officer Isaac Espinoza in 2004. California Attorney General. Harris continued her political ascent by narrowly defeating Los Angeles County District Attorney Steve Cooley to become the Attorney General of California in November 2010. The first African-American woman to hold the position, she quickly made an impact by withdrawing from negotiations for a settlement with the 5 largest financial institutions in the country over improper mortgage practices. Ultimately, in 2012, she secured a $20 million payment, 5 times the original amount proposed for her state. The Attorney General also stirred controversy for her refusal to defend Proposition 8, California ballot measure from 2008, deemed unconstitutional by a federal court. After the U.S. Supreme Court rejected an attempt to appeal the decision in 2013, Harris officiated the first same-sex marriage in California since Proposition 8 was initially enacted. Additionally, Harris oversaw a successful lawsuit against the misleading practices of the for-profit Corinthian Colleges Network and continued legal action against the classified advertising service Backpage, leading its CEO to plead guilty to charges of facilitating prostitution and money laundering after she moved on to the U.S. Senate. U.S. Senator. In November 2016, Harris easily defeated Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez for a seat in the U.S. Senate from California, becoming only the second black woman and the first South Asian American to enter the chamber. She served on the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, the Select Committee on Intelligence, as well as the Judiciary and Budget Committees. Harris made a name for herself on the Judiciary Committee, particularly for her direct questioning of Brett Kavanaugh, who was accused of sexual assault during his confirmation hearing for the Supreme Court in 2018, and then Attorney General Jeff Sessions during a 2017 hearing investigating alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian agents. The senator supported a single-payer healthcare system and introduced legislation to increase access to outdoor recreational spaces in urban areas and provide financial relief in the face of rising housing costs. She resigned from the Senate in January 2021, just 2 days before taking office as Vice President of the United States. 2020 Presidential Campaign. On January 21, 2019, during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day interview on Good Morning America, Harris announced that she would run for the presidency in 2020. As one of the leading Democratic candidates, the California senator joined a group that already included Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand in an attempt to oust President Donald Trump from the White House after his term. A week after her announcement on GMA, Harris formally kicked off her campaign in front of about 20,000 supporters at Frank Ogawa Plaza in Oakland, California. She remained near the top of Democratic polls in the following weeks, navigating the confusion that ensued when she admitted to smoking marijuana in an interview in February and when an animal rights activist confronted her on stage at a political event in June. Harris distinguished herself as one of the top performers in the first Democratic primary debate at the end of June, making headlines for challenging Joe Biden on his history of opposing federal busing for school desegregation. During the second debate the following month, she found herself under attack, with Biden and others criticizing her healthcare plan and aspects of her record as California Attorney General. As her support in the polls declined in the fall of 2019, Harris attempted to regain momentum by calling for President Trump's impeachment over his dealings with Ukraine and focusing on women's access to reproductive health care. Meanwhile, her campaign team reportedly discussed strategy and chain of command, with dysfunction noted in a resignation letter from the state operations director that became public via the New York Times. In early December 2019, Harris announced that she was ending her once promising presidential campaign. However, months later, she had another opportunity to enter the Democratic ticket. First female vice president in U.S. history. In August 2020, just 10 days before presidential candidate Joe Biden accepted the Democratic nomination, he announced Harris, his former rival, as his running mate. When Kamala was Attorney General, she worked closely with my son Beau, Biden said. I watched as they took on the big banks, lifted up workers, protected women and children from abuse. I was proud then, and I am proud now to have her as my partner in this campaign. Continuing to break barriers, Harris became the first Black woman and the first person of South Asian descent to be nominated for a national office by a major party. She was the fourth woman in history to compete on the presidential ticket of a major party. On November 7, 2020, 4 days after Election Day, Biden was declared the 46th president-elect after winning Pennsylvania. This made Harris the first female vice president and the first Black and Asian American person to hold the office. That night, a beaming Harris took the stage at a victory rally in Wilmington, Delaware, her white suffragette suit and as of her predecessors. Harris thanked voters, her running mate, and her family, giving special acknowledgement to her mother. When she came from India at 19, she might not have imagined this moment. She believed so deeply in America, where a moment like this is possible, and I'm thinking of her and the generations of women, Black women, Asian women, white women, Latino women, Native American women, who throughout the history of our nation paved the way for this moment tonight. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality, freedom, and justice for all. Harris was officially sworn in as Vice President of the United States on January 20, 2021, by Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. According to her profile on the White House website, Harris has represented the United States on over a dozen trips abroad during her tenure and has met with more than 150 world leaders to help strengthen global alliances. In her role as President of the Senate, Harris set a record in December 2023 by casting her 32nd and 33rd tie-breaking votes, surpassing the record held by John C. Calhoun that had stood for nearly 200 years. Since 2023, Harris has led the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and has focused on key issues such as immigration, voting, and reproductive rights. In Minnesota, in March 2024, she became the first sitting president or vice president to visit a health center providing abortion. 2024 presidential campaign. With President Joe Biden, Harris began her campaign for a second term in the 2024 presidential election. Their ticket faced few Democratic challengers and secured nearly 3,900 delegates in the primary contests, almost guaranteeing her the Democratic nomination. However, on July 21, 2024, Biden announced that he would be stepping down from the race and endorsed Harris as the preferred Democratic nominee to face former President Donald Trump for the White House in November. I will do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation. Defeat Donald Trump, Harris stated, head of the Democratic National Convention in late August. Support for Harris's candidacy quickly grew, and on August 5th, the majority of Democratic delegates approved her as the party's nominee to challenge Trump in the general election. She is the first Black woman and Asian American to lead a major party's ticket. On August 6th, Harris announced her selection of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. Did you enjoy the video? Then subscribe to the channel, like, and share. Help spread this inspiring story. Leave your thoughts in the comments on what you think about Kamala Harris's journey.